I think anytime that you have a label, your label become your limits. And you say, well, you know, the reason I'm an asshole, it's because I'm an ENTJ or whatever it is,
That's
right? So,
right.
and I think that's really bad news. And we see this all the time. We see this with all kinds of labels and diagnoses. And there's a very, very strong nocebo effect when we
Yeah.
assign these labels to ourselves. So we have to be very careful. They can also be wonderful, right? If you have a positive label, that can also be fantastic because, leading into my book, Beyond Belief, one of the powers of belief, the second power of belief, is the power of anticipation. And it turns out that you do not see reality clearly. You do not feel reality clearly either. And so these beliefs have a profound impact on how you see and experience reality because they directly affect perception through the power of anticipation. So if you say to yourself, I'm having a senior moment, guess where you're focusing your attention based on what you anticipate to happen. And so you're more likely to follow through on being forgetful or whatever stereotype you have in your head around what aging means to you. If you say, oh, there's my ADHD again, or I'm not a morning person, or I'm too young, too old, too fat, too thin, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we tend to focus on. And it's very comforting. It's called the Rumpelstiltskin
Yeah.
effect. Remember that story when you were a kid, Rumpelstiltskin, where the
Yeah.
the the princess names the troll guy or whatever, and as
That's
soon as
right.
she
Called out
names
her
him,
name.
exactly, as soon as she names him, she's free of the spell. And that is exactly what happens to us when we can name a struggle we're having. It feels amazing, and sometimes that's great, right? Like if you have a pain in your foot and you figure out, oh, that's plantar fasciitis or a splinter, calling it out could lead to the next solution of healing it. The problem is with a lot of these mental labels, whether it's I'm not a morning person
Mm.
or I'm an ENTJ or I'm a this or I'm a that, that can also have some serious harmful repercussions. It feels good. It feels very comforting. Oh, this is what I am, like this explains everything about me. And now I don't have to take responsibility for a lot of it because that's the way I am.
This whole idea where a person's personality or beliefs don't change. Like in Chinese culture, there's this phrase called 江山易改，本性难移. It means mountains can change, valleys can move, but you as a person, your personality, who you are, will never change. I mean, that in itself makes it very hard for people to get over this whole idea, right? Oh, I'm a night
Yeah.
owl, so I can never wake up in the morning. Right? These
Yeah.
labels and these beliefs are psychological, but then it keeps you in your sort of comfort zone.
Yeah. And as to someone who has been a family member in a Chinese family since I was 18, my wife and I started dating when I was 18. No, she was 18. Sorry, I was 19. Uh, I see, and living in Singapore for 6 years, which has about 60% ethnically Chinese population and very culturally similar,
Mm-hmm.
I can see that. And I don't think it's a good thing. I think it's scientifically not true. Of course, within a range, right? Within a range. But yeah, like I could start talking with a British accent if I so choose. I'm not going to do it because that would be awful at it. But if I so chose, I could talk with a different accent. I could
Mm-hmm.
change aspects of my personality. I could, even something as controversial as ADHD. People talk about ADHD as if it's like your eye color. My brain is broken. That's it. And by the way, I have ADHD. And let me tell you, when I took the test, have you taken the test, by the way?
No, I have not. No.
Okay. Basically, if you want a diagnosis, you can
Yeah.
get one. Like I took it honest to goodness. Like I just wanted to see, what's involved. And I answered 100% honestly. And I expected not to get an
It's like a
ADHD
questionnaire.
diagnosis.
Near it's like a
It's
questionnaire.
it's a questionnaire. It's a questionnaire, and there's like a
Mm.
little test, a little computer test. But the trouble is that it is a series of questions that is asked from a subjective perspective. So
Mm.
one of the questions all the questions are similar to how often do you experience XYZ, distraction, this, that, the
Mm-hmm.
other?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it never, sometimes, often, all the time, right? Like on a Likert scale. Well,
Yeah.
compared to who? Compared to what? I only have my subjective experience. And of course, if I focus on I'm distracted, I'm distracted, I'm distracted, I'm distracted, guess what? Now, let me be very clear. We're totally going on a weird tangent here, but I have to, let's go for it. Um, I think severe ADHD does exist. I have met people who have debilitating ADHD. It's real. I hate to say this, folks. There are a lot of us out there who don't have anything wrong with us. We like to think we have, oh, this is why, this is why, this is why, when really we just haven't developed that skill set. Because how do I know this? If I enter you into a situation where you take an ADHD analysis and you pull and you take that test and you say, okay, I do have ADHD. And then you learn a bunch of techniques and you convince yourself through trial and error that, you know what, I don't get distracted that often. Maybe you change careers and now you're doing something that you love and you're not distracted. You're totally focused and you're really, and by the way, that is a trait of a lot of people who struggle with this, is that they're really distracted on one thing and bored when they do one thing, and then they do something else and they're hyper-focused. And
Right.
so if those subjective metrics change, aren't you effectively cured? Now, people will say, no, it's an uncurable condition. It's just like your eye color. I think there's some real doubt. So I think some people are way underdiagnosed, like the when it comes to mental health, the people on the street that have bipolar disorder, that have schizophrenia, that have some really severe disabilities, they go underdiagnosed and undertreated. And then we have a whole other population of people who are way overdiagnosed. For example, did you know that a third of students at Stanford, have some kind of accommodations that is not, it's like ADHD, dyslexia, these type of a third.
Wow.
You got into Stanford. Okay, you got into Stanford, the hardest school in the world, one of the hardest schools to get into in the world. Isn't that funny? Like, isn't that a little suspicious? And so a lot of people
That doesn't make sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
No, because it's a huge advantage. Frankly, you're kind of stupid not to, right? Like, you get so much accommodations for it. You get double time and a half. And it's so easy today, and there's no check and balance. The problem is we're not asking ourselves, when do these labels always serve us and when are they hurting us? And I think they are starting to, I think, for many people, to hurt them.
It reminds me, was it Carol Dweck that did the study about willpower where, the simple belief that you have willpower actually gives you willpower. It doesn't get depleted. It doesn't.
That's right. It countered a phenomenon that was called ego depletion.
That's
ego
right.
depletion was this idea that you run out of willpower. Like
you
gas
run
in a
out
gas
over
tank.
time. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Turns out those studies don't replicate. There was a lot of noise made about it a few years ago. Turns out when other psychologists tried to replicate these studies, they couldn't get them to replicate. And so that threw some doubt in it. And what Carol Dweck did was she showed that the only people who run out of willpower, right, the only people who get bent like battery charged on a phone, are people who believe that willpower is a limited resource. If you believe you are running out, you will.
You will run out. Yeah. It's so crazy.